You know something? If it's one thing that I've learned, is that your mother is the best friend that you have in the world, or father. Once you lose those two, or one of the two, you're just already, or both, you lose the best friend in the world. That means there's nobody in the world that will care, that are genuine, that would want to help you out. Because you lost the only two people that you really care about. And that's what I'm dedicating this video today, to talk about how I got into metal and other stuff. Um, and just some other random stuff. This video is really dedicated to Ozzy Osbourne as a adaptation of my life. Thinking back on the things that maybe I wasn't paying attention to, that um, that I should be grateful for, and some things that I am grateful for. And you know, I don't know what I would do if I actually lost my mother, you know. Well, currently, my biological father is still living too, but you know, he's never been in my life as much. I don't know why. I'm sure, you know, maybe he has his reasons. I remember back in 2022 or 2021, I went to my biological father's home, sat and spent some time with him and his wife. And he was telling me about some things that was going on between him and my mother. I listened, but I also understand that, you know, my mother wasn't really trying to keep me away from my mother, from my father. You know, she never stopped me from wanting to hang out with my father, and she never really stopped me from doing the things that I wanted to do. She never stopped me, you know? I mean, why would she? But, you know, most women tend to say a lot of stuff about their fathers to get the child to resent and hate. So, it has gotten to the point so it just has been, you know, when you lose your parents, it hits different. You don't have any friends at this point. You're living in a world full of enemies and full of people who are only use you for their own purposes. There are people in this world that appears to be genuine, but they're not. I have a grandmother, and she's 81 years old. You know, I talk to her sometimes, and the only time her and I talk is when I have, you know, mail that comes in through her mailbox, which, I mean, it's not like I can just take a flight to go back to the state of Alabama just to get it. So I just told her, if you get anything, just throw it away, because obviously I'm not going to be there to pick it up. And then you get into one of those situations where you never know what you really have until it's really gone. And we all have loved ones. I'm pretty sure you have loved ones in your life that, you know, if there was anybody that you really would like to see again, it would probably be, if it's anybody that you would like to see again, that you would probably do whatever you can to see that person, right? And if you can give anything to see that person, you would. It could be a loved one, it could be your husband, father, it could be anything, right? But the thing is that sometimes talking about things can lead to disappointment, depression, or any other stuff, right? And you know, it can always lead to it always leads to something. And so the thing that so basically I'm gonna this is how um a lot of this is where reality really kicks in. So I'm gonna explain to you guys, share you guys a little story about how I got into it. For those of you that don't know, I've been listening to metal for 8 years of my life, and I still listen to metal today. I've been a metalhead for a very long time, and I enjoy it. So I'm gonna share with you guys, just, a little story of how I got into listening to metal and what inspired it. So it was back in 2007. I was 15 years old back then, and I met a schoolmate that loves to listen to metal. So I back then we had iPod Classical, iPod Nanos, and stuff like that back in the day. We used to have that stuff. You used to, hook the USB port to your computer, and then hook the USB port to your, and it works nicely if you had a Mac, right? Which I never had a Mac because I was very eerie about it, and I just didn't think that having a Mac would be nice because of the fact that they have the security administration essentials back then that protects your computer from the viruses and stuff. Because when I got a new computer, I would get on websites, and all of a sudden, it was the viruses would slow down my computer. So anyway, so we were listening to metal, and I actually enjoyed it. You know, it was something new, something different. At the time, I used to listen to rap. I used to listen to other stuff. But then I stopped listening to, I used to listen to like just only rap. So after a certain time break period, after a certain time, I started listening to a radio station called uh, 93.7 WDJC. You guys probably heard of that station before. Needless to say, I think that station is still up and running to this day. It is a Christian radio station where they play different other Christian music. They pick certain songs from other new bands that just been released, and they play it. And I used to listen to tuned in all the time because they played. I started to get into rock music at the time when I started listening to the first band that I listened to was Switchfoot. Then it went from listening to Switchfoot to uh, Reliance K and a couple of other bands. So then I started listening to some of the bands that my classmate used to have or listen to. And what I found out is the fact that, okay, so he listened to this awesome band. So I'm like, man, I wish I had these awesome bands. Because at the time, all I had was a CD player. I didn't have an iPod or any of the sort, or MP3 player. All I had was a CD. I used to have a CD player and a couple of CDs, and I would bring a CD case or a couple of CDs that I would listen to, right? Because back in the day, we used to have, back in 2007, the CD players used to exist, right? So I used to listen to, and then I would always have to put in some extra batteries because you know CD players used to run on batteries back in 2007. And and I started listening to Switchfoot over and over. Then I started singing along with some of the songs and stuff like that. So then I used to get Craig to burn some music from the CDs that of some of the songs that I think it was my schoolmate, or I think it was somebody else. Um, one of them was able to burn, I think he was able to burn a CD. And um and it was during school, so he would give me the CD, and I would check it out. I would be so anxious and excited. You know, I brought my CD player, my headphones, and everything. And the only time I was able to listen to music and everything is when I think I was in one of I think it was social studies class or something like that. I think it was a learning lab class. Learning lab back then are classes where um, and I started listening and listening, and I played some of the music over and over to the point where I ended up enjoying listening to metal. So I got into actual metal music because it was I was listening to hard rock at the time. is Demon Hunter. And I think one of their songs that they made was, I think it was one of their albums, and I enjoyed it. And then I listened to a couple of their albums, and then I had met another classmate, and he introduced me to some other bands that I did not know about. It got deeper into metal. As I Lay Dying was one of them, and then Winds of Plague was another one. I don't know what happened to those guys. I don't know if they're still touring, doing gigs. Back then, they used to do some really good music. And it's funny, those bands you usually know and love and listen to, you don't hear from them anymore. Um, so I ended up listening to some CDs, some music. I used to go on like YouTube at the time. They had some kind of media that you can actually go to and listen to music. So I thought, oh, this is actually pretty cool, you know. So I so I ended up listening to them, right? And then I got into metal. So I started listening to Creed, thinking, okay, because I used to go to Walmart and other places and look for bands that looked like it could be really good to listen to. And I used to go to the Christian bookstore all the time. I used to go in their section. They used to have like bands I like, and then I would check other bands I like, and then I would listen to 93.7 WDJC, and I used to listen to some of the bands that were on there. Some of the bands I actually liked, and I was hoping to hear it again. So then, um, after I graduated from high school, I didn't get a high school diploma because I got a certificate because I was behind. So I was put on a No Child Left Behind, and I wasn't very real educated, and I wasn't caught up. So I ended up going to Job Corps back in 2007 when I moved to another location, which I didn't want to leave Alabama. I used to stay in Birmingham. Birmingham was the best place to go because there was always stuff to do rather than being in Tuscaloosa or other places. For those of you, you guys get what I'm saying. If you live in a city and there's like really nothing to do, and you go to another city, there's so much to do, nicer places, more people. You guys get what I'm saying. So anyway, I ended up um, meeting this guy that was a student that was at Job Corps. And he showed me a band and it was really interesting. The sound was very different from any bands that I've heard in my lifetime. So I started doing my research. So because of the band that I was listening to, it led me into writing and writing books about my life. And it just brought some inspiring. I used to write poetry, poems, and stuff like that, you know, which I still have my website for it if you guys like to check it out. I also wrote a book called My Life Story, which I used to name this channel that, but I changed it. So it was pretty nice. It gave me the inspiration I needed when it came to writing, and it also helped me through my college courses actually, because most of them was I had to write a paper about something, and you know I didn't know anything about ChatGPT or AI at the time, so I ended up listening to more of the band called Insomnium. It is a Finnish band that is in Finland, and Niilo Sevonen is actually the lead singer, and vice versa. You guys know these bands. I don't know if you guys heard of them, but they probably played in the UK. Usually they'll play in Finland or Germany, in France. You know, they did play in Netherlands. They did play in Japan, I think. I don't know where they're touring now, but I think they're touring in Germany somewhere. Who knows? I don't know. I've heard that I don't know. Maybe they're working on their new album, working on a new song. I don't know, but they are definitely still around. So the first time getting a taste of that, it kind of led me into listening to other bands as well, like Soul Embraced. And then after listening to a lot of metal, I met another friend that, um, Frank Lopez. Shout out to him. He's actually my coworker I used to work at for Mercedes. So he introduced the first band he introduced me to. I think it was, I don't know. So how I got into I started to went from melodic death metal to blackened deathcore. And how I got into that is because of my friend Frank. Um, we talked about a lot of stuff together, a lot of metal bands together. And I ended up just browsing around on YouTube, and I just heard this band, and I was like, I think it was the first metal black and deathcore band that I've listened to was it was either Warm Shepherd or it was I think the first band that I started that I was listening to, because I ended up listening to a lot of instrumental metal, and then it went from that to listening to I think it was I think it was um Signs of the Swarm or Warm Shepherd. And then after listening to a lot of bands, I was excited. It really it was really something that I was looking for. So when I found that, I ended up no, the first band I started listening to was Oshino. That was the first band I started listening to. Oshino. Shout out to Adam Warren. I love his stuff, man. But so he did this pig squeal vocal, so I started practicing on my own because I wanted to understand how they did it and what it felt like of me doing it. So I ended up practicing, got the hang of it, and then I started listening to more bands and whatever black and deathcore bands that were out there. And so I ended up but it got to the point where I was listening to Larner Shore. Larner Shore is one of my favorite bands. So I started listening to Lana Shore. Another one of my favorite bands is Nithful, and I kind of liked more of the polygonal vocals. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Let me look at something right quick. Give me 1 second. Alright, let me see. So, I don't know, I can't seem to find it. But I do know that I was. I can't seem to find it. So let me try something right quick, cause it was a name for it, but I can't seem to. It was a name for it. All right. Let me see the video he made. Okay, it's called polyphonic vocals. That's what it's called. Polyphonic vocals. And um there's this guy named Derek Connolly. Shout out to him. He's making a new single. Can't wait to even hear it. I can't wait. So um so I ended up just for fun, just practicing, the vocals, trying to get it to sound. I guess the goal was to get it to sound exactly like his vocals, and then try to branch off and modify it into my own once I knew that I was doing it right. And from there, I have went down the rabbit hole of metal. I went down from the deepest, darkest black and deathcore metal that I've ever heard in my entire life. And it gave me that perspective of what I was looking for. And you know how when you find music that you really like, and once you find music that you really like, it tends to speak to you. You tend to find things that you never knew that you could find. Sorry about that, guys. I've been having issues with flies lately coming in here. Let's see if I caught it. Didn't catch it. Don't know where it is. It's probably on the wall somewhere. Usually they come out. Anyway, so I got into that, and it's been nice. I really, really, really enjoy it, you know, and I just can't wait to. I just can't really wait for it to to hear his new album. But anyway, so since then I started to get into more black and deathcore. I noticed that I've been inspired to do vocals just like them. Who knows? I might even start my own band one day. You know, write my own music. I've never really been a songwriter before, but I think that'll be something totally new. But originally, I'm really good at as a comic book creator. So I draw manga characters, comic book creator. I have my own stuff. If you guys like to see more of that, if you guys like to support it, if you like it, then I can give it, I can give that to you guys if you guys want to support it in any given way. Sorry for the clapping. There's a fly that's in front of my computer, and I don't know why it's there, but it's there. And I don't even think I got him because it's been buzzing around. I don't know why it's buzzing around like that. But yeah, so that's what got me into metal is the sound, the way the guitars go are brewing, and the way the vocal sounds. And what made me so into black metal as well is how you can use your vocals to make all kinds of sounds. Amazing sounds. Of course, there are some bands that do voice effects where their voice, when they scream, their voice sounds like it's echoey, and sometimes they use other vocals, other sound voice effects um, to hide their voice. Sometimes they do it just to make it look interesting, just to kind of blend in some stuff in and whatever they're trying to do. However, it's pretty good. So, and I know of some of the bands like Iron Maiden and Kiss and some of the other awesome bands back in the day. Uh, and so, that's what got me into metal, and it really speaks to me, and it's just the kind of music that I've been looking for. And throughout the circumstances that you've been going through in life, when you find the music that you're looking for, it tends to really resonate with what you're going through. So black and I used to, and I'm still gothic um, style, so it's kind of goes up my territory because it just you know and I have a lot of gothic friends too, and the reason because gothic, like myself and others, they tend to understand people a lot more than an average normal person. And you know, I've never really heard. I've know of Ozzy Osbourne in terms of the history, but I've never really heard any of his. I think I did, but it was at the time when I didn't know who he was. But rest in peace to Ozzy Osbourne, and the best of the best. And may his music continues to live on forever. Um, it it's you know now that I think about it, not just only Ozzy Osbourne, um, but I noticed that a lot of good people, a lot of good actors are starting to, leave this earth lately. And it's it's getting to a point where I mean, I don't know. It's just a lot of good people are starting to leave, you know. Let's see. This and I just, you know, I just even though I don't know him and I've never really heard any of his music, he is very a very valuable asset to the metal community. And and it just reflects on my life how, you know, no matter how much money you got, no matter what you do, you just never know when you're gonna leave this earth. And that's why it's always good to pray as though it's your last day because you never know when you're gonna leave this earth. And for those of you out there that, you have family, grandmother even, or grandpa, or mom, or dad, spend as much time with them as you can, please. Give them their flowers while they live because you never know when they're gonna leave this earth. And I'm gonna tell you something, especially your mother and father, maybe your aunt is your closest best friend, maybe your grandmother, regardless of who, aside from mom, just always remember that when you lose somebody, especially when it comes to family, you lose the best friend that you have in the world. And it's not easy to find somebody else. It could be your husband, it could be your wife, it could be anything. If you're close with whoever or whatever you're close to, you know, and so you just never know when you're gonna leave this earth. Especially when it comes to your parents or whoever you're close to. When you lose that person, it's like losing the best friend that you had in the whole world. While stuck in this this cold, cruel world filled with people that don't even have a soul. And then you gotta really look at it too, like there's gonna start to be more crimes. Now the fact that prices are going up. I don't mean to make this all about a video um, about cost of living or anything, but I'm bringing this up to stress the fact that to get to the point of now that the cost of living is going up, and you know, it's gonna, more crimes are gonna start happening. There's gonna be more stealing. There's gonna be more killing. It's gonna be more everything that's going on. Mostly stealing and robbing. And if the prices and everything don't go down, this whole country is going to end up in chaos. Even with Donald Trump in office, but if you don't remember anything else that I say in this video, just remember that it's going to be more chaos that's going to happen. It's going to be killings, stealing. There's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to happen because prices are going up. People are working back to back to back just to maintain and just to keep up. As soon it's going to get to a point where they're going to get tired of trying to keep up with everything, and they're going to get to the point where they can't do it. Because you got to understand, like, with everything that's going and happening the way it's happening right now, it can only happen, it can only go for so long until eventually people are going to start to break. There's going to be more killings. There's going to be more stealing. There's going to be people that's going to probably try to rob banks. It's going to get rough before, you know, before the end times even get around. So, you know, you got jobs that these managers are not hiring people that trying to work. You know, they want to work. The managers are not doing their... I'll make this another video. I don't want to make this about jobs or anything. But I'm saying this is that a lot of people are going to end up dead. A loved one could get shot while coming out of a grocery store. There's going to be more crime and more police activity. And it's going to get to the point where it's not going to be as safe. I mean, you already got the National Guard in Washington right now because of the crime that's going on. And it's going to get worse all over the United States because everything is too high. And you really got to understand, like, people can go for so long until they break. And eventually when they start to break, more and more stuff starts happening. More and more starts happening. And with that being said, it's not going to look good. Just remember, with the prices going up, gas costs is going up, everything is going up. Got tariffs that's in place. Just remember when I say this, there are going to be more killings. People are going to start stealing. There's going to be more chaos in the streets. Just remember, it's going to happen. Because something is going to have to give. People are going to eventually get tired of... They can make money online and start a YouTube channel like I'm doing right now. For somebody that been on YouTube for 7 years. But I'm saying this to say this. There's many people that are dying every day. Rather if it's a sickness or a mental illness or something else. So, I'm gonna tell you guys, like, and so I'm just saying, just just, keep this in mind because it's gonna happen. And this is why I also tell you guys, find something to do outside of these jobs because you can go to your job one day and a bullet can hit you and there'll be lights out for you. Anything could happen. So people are going to start going crazy. People are going to start stealing stuff. It's going to be chaos. It's not happening now, but eventually it's going to start happening. I mean, people are already doing things on the down low. People are probably selling drugs. People are probably selling weed. They're probably doing other stuff that they shouldn't be doing, that they shouldn't do according to law under the table just to make a quick extra bucks. Because most of these jobs don't want to hire nobody. You got managers and you got store managers and managers, hiring managers. They're just like people. They got millions and millions of people that put in applications, and they don't bother to let the people know, hey, we didn't. And at that point, you just like, you know what? I don't really care no more. I mean, there's a lot of people that are not even blessed to have a monetized platform. I don't even have a monetized platform. And I'm already, trying to find something so I don't get thrown out on the streets because I don't have money to pay rent. Not to mention the other job that I quit, they never did pay me my last paycheck. And that was with, Fred Meyers. It was some kind of company from Kroger. Like I said before, I didn't get my last paycheck from them. I would never work for them again. None of these jobs are gonna hire you. They're not gonna hire you. You got to contact them. You got to reach out, ask them if they're hiring. And then half of the people you talk to them and you ask them questions, they look at you like they don't understand what you're talking about. Like they looking at you like they have no idea of what you're talking about, and yet they worked there longer than you have. So what I think I'm gonna do is try to see about making money on YouTube. If you guys want to have a one-on-one session with me, just talk, whatever you want to do. Hey, um, I'll put the link down there in the description of this video, and you could just pay to put in a session if you want to talk. We can do email, we can do voice, or whatever you want to do. So, anyway, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Let me know what you think of this video. Put your experience in the comments. I would like to know about, where you're watching me from. Let me know your experience of losing a loved one in your life. What did it meant to you? What was some things that you realized that you never realized before, or anything, and I do comment shout outs. I haven't been doing any lately because there haven't been a lot of people commenting, so I try to, because I do read comments, so just don't hesitate to leave a comment. Talk about anything. If you just say, hey, nice video, even, then that's fine too. This channel is about sharing things that other people can relate to. I mean, I'm not really good of a problem solver as in terms of knowing how it can help people, but the only thing I know that I can help people is by people knowing that they're not alone. Because you got other people that are searching for videos like this, probably, you know, and or videos to see if who else is going through this, the similar things, or maybe something in correlation to what they're going through. And you have to really, and then when they find that out, it just gives them comfort that they're not alone. So you never know. People search for a lot of things on YouTube these days. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. I'll be back with another video real soon. We live in the chaos. We live in the matrix. We live in the chaos matrix society. I'm your host, and be back with another video real soon. You guys take care.